reason that they can shed their skin is because they have 2 layers of skin. It's called the dermis and the epidermis. And as the leopard gecko will grow a new skin, the old one will come away from the new one, and then that's when they're ready to shed. They also eat the skin, which is completely normal. It could be one of 2 reasons they do this. Either a defence mechanism, so in the wild they don't leave their scent, so things can't track them, so they eat it all up and then go. And also because the skin is full of nutrients that they can just eat instead of wasting them, which is a good thing to use in the wild as well, because they don't know when their next feed is going to be. Usually you'll notice they go quite grey, especially if you have a darker colour gecko like mine. They go grey. I'll show you Diego in a minute. He's a yellow, so when he goes white, it's not as noticeable. As you can see, his back is quite white and crispy compared to his head, because that's still quite yellow. Leopard geckos are really soft. I know people say all reptiles, they feel horrible, but seriously, leopard geckos, especially their bellies, are really soft. So he's not quite ready to shed. You can tell when they're ready to shed because the skin in their ears sort of pop out. So, and all around their face would be white as well. Never sort of forced, never rip it off, like especially at this stage, it'd be really painful, and they really won't like you. You'll probably get a bite from that. Okay, so this is Diego. This is who you saw in the video the other day. He shed his skin a couple of days after I did the video, and for the most part all the skin is off, apart from, when you look closely, there are 2 little bits of skin on his feet. Now it's important to get every single bit off, and there are 3 options you can use to get that off. Warm water with kitchen towel, tweezers, or your hands. Now, it's just going off here. It's best to use your hands if you have small hands like me, and you can sort of do what the tweezer does and you have a bit more control over it. Or if it's like a large part of skin that's still on there. Sometimes they actually get it still on their little bellies, but the toes are the most frequent place that you find skin that hasn't shed properly. So if you were using, let's see, he's moving about a bit, so. Okay, so it's really tiny. I can see where it lifts up, which is helpful. If it was really stuck on, like it wasn't lifted at all, but you can see there was still skin on it, then definitely use the warm water with the towel. That softens it, and then hopefully you can sort of get a lip and then just pull it. Using tweezers, you have to be really careful. You don't want to be hurting your gecko, and especially around the toes, don't want to be sort of pinching them. I'll try to use the tweezers because it might be easier to see, even though my hand is now in the way. Let's see. Oh, he's having a nice drink there. It's a lot harder to do, obviously showing you on the camera, but they usually twitch their feet a lot. So every time you go to pull it, they flinch, which I guess is good. It shows you that all their nerves, everything are working. Before I do, I'll just say that it's best to leave it about a day after they shed, a day or 2 after they shed, so you can sort of let them try to get the excess skin off, and then if it's still on there, that's when you intervene. The reason you do it a bit after they shed is because if you do it whilst they're shedding, they're in that sort of mode where they turn around and bite the skin to pull it off. And if your hand's in the way, your hand will get bitten. So a few days later, they're not sort of in that mood, so they just think you're an annoyance. But you have to get them off, because if skin isn't removed, you can get some really bad skin diseases, and they can actually lose their toes, which is not nice. Oh, I got a bit off. Now, taking the skin off can take a while, so you've got to be patient. Another place you might see some is around their face. Sometimes you won't even really notice it. I've had times when my geckos have completely shed, and then I started to notice one part of their face has started going a bit more white and a bit more white. Turns out it's dead skin that they haven't shedded. So yeah, that can happen. But I don't use moss. With the Eco Earth, what you can do is, or what I do is, the layout is the heat mat one side with a hide on it. Then 2/3 of the tank is just cold, the cold side. So the Eco Earth stays a bit damp. Usually has one hide in the corner, the water bowl, and then sometimes I have these just in there with a bit of dirt in. And if I think they're quite dry, I just get some warm water and spray it in there. But what's really good about these, because there's not much dirt in here, it's kind of been kicked out now. But what's good is there's these little rough bits inside, and when the geckos want to shed and they just can't quite get it, you'll see they rub their face against it or their side, and it just sort of splits the skin a bit, the old skin, and it sort of creates a sort of opening where they can start to like rip it off. Obviously there's not much dirt in there, but when I can see they're going to shed soon, I just tip a bit more in from their vivarium, just get a bit, tip it in, spray it, put the lid on and put it in. If you were going to do this as well, try to do it so the Eco Earth's a little bit higher, because where they're rubbing against it, it can tip. I mean, it won't do any harm, but it's best for them if it's more secure. Another hide that I see my geckos use all the time when they're shedding is this, the coconut hide. You can usually get these anywhere for reptiles. What happens is, like, one of my geckos, Gizmo, she's had this, not this one, but a coconut hide since she was a baby, and obviously it was really big for her then, but now she's bigger. She gets in it and she's like right curled round, but she loves it. It looks very secure. If she didn't, she wouldn't go in there. This is minis you've just seen, and when they're shedding, they can sort of use it to sort of pull off some of the skin, and as they're curled round, wait, you can go in there. As they're curled round, they can reach like their tail and their sides. Even though they can do that normally, I think it helps them sort of lean on stuff and really get to those parts. So when your gecko is shedding, chances are they'll be in the cold area where it's moist, and they've got a hide like this, because then they'll just be pulling all their skin off. If you use the moss or anything, any sort of container you use that you put in for your gecko to shed in, do not put it in a hot area, because that will just dry out and they probably won't use it.